And let's make sure everything is paused. Look at all of the things that are happening right now. Oh, my lord. So, you'll notice already some things are different. Lots of things are different, actually. But the base as a whole, let me shut those down, just so that we can see things properly. This is a very hot asteroid. It's an Oasis asteroid that literally chat decided that for my first try to get through the game proper, like I've dabbled with Oxygen Not Included a fair bit, but I've never really finished the game. I've never really gotten to end game content. I've never done anything with oil, for example. So that gives you an idea, where my overall abilities with the game are. They decided they wanted to throw me on the hardest planet to survive on. So, thanks, chat. Always looking out for me. I can always trust in you. Hey, Belial, 79. Seems like it was yesterday you got your sub button. I know, right? It really does, actually, sometimes. Sometimes I only know how long I've had my sub button, though, because of people like Belial, who've been a sub for the entirety. Diolch yn fawr iawn, mate. Thank you so much. And Bondo Sheet Metal, thank you very much for the 39 months. But yeah, so we've got a frozen core, so instead of magma, we had ice, which is great because we're using this as our cooling loop right now. We've got a couple of volcanoes that I've tapped into and I've tamed to certain degrees. For example, there's a copper volcano. I'm siphoning off energy whenever it erupts and then cooling down the metal and then posting it out. So we've got basically limitless copper right now. We've got, I've hollowed out a lot of the asteroid, as you can already see. We've got liquid carbon CO2 in here. In fact, I think we've actually got solid CO2 in some places. We've got another minor volcano that we've tamed. I'm not super happy with how this is going, but it is giving us basically free igneous rock forever, which means free hatch farms forever, which is ultra good in many, many ways. There are dozens of other geysers. This world is geoactive, so there's stupid amounts of geysers. We've got a slickster farm over here. We've got both petroleum and oil being generated there. We've got oil refineries around here, around there. These are the first times I've ever played with them. This was our initial area where we were cooling down the base. We basically there was a couple of ice, like I'm not really sure what like glaciers. I think the biome is just literally just frozen pockets of ice, not a cold biome as such, just a glacial deposit. But obviously, this being a very hot map naturally, let me bring up the heat and zoom all the way out to show you. Very hot map naturally, except for these little glacier deposits. It melted them very quickly, and so I dumped all the water down there and I put an aqua tuner in there because I only had copper to start with, and that was the only way that I could keep it from overheating, is literally bury it in an enormous amount of water. That has over time become stupid hot. Stupid hot. Even the frozen core is heating up very, very quickly. But we're making do as best we can. Over here, I have an industrial brick. We've got a power setup over here that we're cooling by having a massive steam area. All of our industrial devices and our batteries and all of that, we're using them as usual, but we're using the excess heat they produce to heat water to run steam generators. And then, so on and so forth. We've got all different types of energy present, and they are controlled by these batteries at different charge levels. It'll turn on different energy sources so that we'll try and make use of the byproduct of our industry as best we can. We've got little bits and bobs over here. Now, some of this is absolutely 1,000% going to break. All right? You cannot store... You can't store... how to put it? You can't store food the way you could before. We've got a lot of food. Or we did. Used to have a lot of food. A lot of it is now gone. You'll notice this used to be in the millions of kilocalories. Millions. We had something like 10, 11 million calories worth of barbecue. No more. We can't just dump it into CO2 and be like, no, jobs are good. It's a sterile environment. It won't ever go off. No. Temperature now matters as well. So you need to use refrigerators. And even refrigerators won't stop the spoilage completely, but also the sterile atmosphere. But if you manage to freeze it, then you can completely prevent any decomposition of it. We've got a pretty nice little area in here. We've got our why is there so much natural gas in there? I don't understand. How is this happening? Is someone farting? It's the only thing I can imagine is people are farting. I think we must have a flatulent dupe. How frustrating. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to deal with it. But we've got this is a fairly nice little area, fairly high decor. This is their home. And then down here, loads of atmosuits. They generally don't everything outside of this habitat. They're in an atmosuit for it. Jackson Decay, thank you very much for the 30 months. Hello, Aavak. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, mate. It's wonderful to be back in Arnie. We've got a couple of little areas dotted around. We've got a Draco farm over here. We've got a hatch farm, stone hatches primarily. So I'm feeding them igneous rock, which is why I tamed this volcano to do... it wasn't for power. I tamed this volcano purely so I'd have a renewable source of igneous rock. I cool the magma down to the point that it solidifies... And then I ship it out, and I drop it in the water down here, and every now and then I pop down there to collect it. We've got 18.6 tons of igneous rock there. And should be at a reasonable temperature. Yeah, reasonably 88 degrees, but it'll eventually cool. And I just get a little bit of extra power out of it as well. It's a largely automated process. We've got a proper volcano there that I will tame in much the same way eventually. All of these disparate little areas that generate power are dumping it all onto the grid here and there, but it's not really the main focus. But we've got quite a lot of stone hatches, so that's where we get a lot of meat from. We've got slicksters, as I mentioned, down here, and they're producing... I'm not really farming them for food in any way. It's just petroleum and oil, an extra bit of petroleum and oil. But additionally, we have a couple of dotted around... Oh, well, this one I'm setting up to try and make a carbon dioxide vent to warm up CO2 that will then get pumped over to the slicksters eventually. We've got 2 natural gas vents that I am... let me go back out to screenshot mode so I can move around a little bit better. That I am storing in vast storages for my natural gas. And then this gets piped down and occasionally used in my natural gas generators down there. We've also got a fairly large scale... I've got a couple of oxygen generators, but this is my new one, and this is a fairly large scale one. It's self-powering. The hydrogen it produces by electrolysis with water generates enough power to run it, and enough oxygen that I can actually vent. Oxygen is now a waste gas in this colony. For a large part. As for this down here, we're currently rebuilding this whole area. I'm moving away from this setup. Currently, we've only got room for 12 duplicants. Or duplicants, as the case may be. I'm designing this to accommodate 24. This is going to be a new main hub. It's going to be a very big project, and that's pretty much where a lot of my effort is going right now. I will probably build in... I'm tempted to build in like an in-house cooler for the main hub. As much as I want a single cooling loop running the entire colony, it is going to be such a mess to build properly. I've already redesigned this area like 3 or 4 times as a consequence of that. If not more, frankly. And yeah, it's an issue, basically. So I am tempted to have an in-house cooling system over here, and just accept that it'll be a drain on power. Power is not a problem for me anymore, so I can afford to have thermo aqua tuners around the place, and I'll siphon off a little bit of the heat with a steam vent, but only because I need to do something with the heat. But the power-wise, it would be fine, and then that can control all of the cooling for the colony. Up the top, though, we've got a couple of other things. We have gotten to space. I have deconstructed the telescope, but I think I might actually need to rebuild it. I don't think I can actually be away from that for too long. We've got sweepies up here. They're taking care of all of the various regolith deposits from space. I've got auto miners. Everything is self-cooled, but with escaping gases. I'm just pumping gases into these little areas. Waste gases, usually oxygen at this point. And then just little tiny amounts, enough that it can waft up and draw some of the heat away before it dissipates into the background of space. And that keeps the robo miners from overheating. We're generating a decent amount of regolith, as you can see. The sweepies collect it, return it over to their docks, and then I use conveyor rails to move it all the way down into here, which is another energy-producing room, a largely passive energy-producing. I try wherever I can not to waste any energy here. How long do I plan on continuing this colony? For as long as it takes me to complete. We're on cycle 1656 at the moment. So basically, I bring in all of the hot space stuff. Like, this stuff is very warm, as you can see. It's meteorite impact. I ship all of the stuff that I get out of that, be it refined metals or regolith or what have you, in here, and it just gets piped around for a little while in this room, depositing its heat into the steam, which then gets consumed by the steam turbines, generating a little bit of power. I have got a thermo aqua tuner in here because once it's deposited enough heat energy into this room, it gets popped down into a cooling loop down here. And if I bring up the pipe work, this is more or less an enclosed system. I'm just using polluted water for this. So the polluted water does try to cool these, but I've also got, this room is full of hydrogen, and it's got a bunch of wheezeworts, naturally planted wheezeworts. So they're less effective than if I were to plant them myself. They do less cooling, but I don't have to use any fertilizer for them. So they're completely passively chilling this atmosphere. So a little bit of that. So for example, over here, it's going in at 7.8 degrees, coming out, well, actually, it's coming out at 9.4 because it's going in, where is it? There, it's going in at 1.8. So this room, is picking up heat in this room, which is what we wanted to do. So it's keeping the steam engines cool, but the wheezeworts are having an effect. We would have to be putting a lot more energy into this system to cool this without the wheezeworts. But then it comes down here, so it enters this area at about 13 degrees, exits it at about 15 degrees because all of the items that, once they're cool enough that they're not really helping the steam generation, they get sent down here and they circle through this loop a little while. Just to shed a little bit more heat. And once they're at the temperature that I'm okay with, I exit those out and they actually enter the base. This is a kind of a transition between space and the internal atmosphere of the asteroid. Anything that isn't regolith gets dumped. And it just falls down here, and then we can come and collect it eventually. That's one source of renewable iron for us. But if it's regolith, then it gets sent up here if there's room, and that gets fed in here. A shovel farm. And because shovels are naturally burrowers and they're fine with being literally encased in solid matter, they have no overpopulation penalty. So we have a bajillion of them in here right now. Well, I can quickly have a look. If I turn on critter count, well, actually, I'd need to unpause for a second. Let's unpause for a second. And everything is kind of updating. Many things are updating. Right, let's pop on count critters. There are 69 fully mature shovels, and probably many eggs as well. 30 eggs. Oh, I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I let them get to the end of their lives. We don't even cull them ourselves. We don't do all the nices. I knew it was going to happen. That's why I didn't need to do it. I could trust in you, Chair. But we just let old age take them. What they eat? Regolith. They eat space rock. So I send space rock to them, and I've got a practically infinite amount of it. Well, I do have an infinite amount of it. So they eat the space rock. Their population continues to expand, and then when they get old enough, they die. And then when they die, the meat drops to the floor, and then do I ship the meat out, or do I have someone come here and collect it? No, I ship the meat out as well. So beyond a certain point, I just collect anything that isn't regolith. and isn't an egg, I will collect eggshell. I just won't collect an egg. I ship it off. So the moment they die, it gets picked up, hiked onto the conveyor rail system, and sent down to my kitchen. So that's how I had... Oh, well, actually, no, I still have. There we go. It wasn't 11 million. I do apologize. It's been a long while. It was 13 million calories. Any products apart from meat, they're eggshells, which I do use to make lime. Yeah, the whole idea with this base was extreme automation. Don't worry about it, Duffelfish. I fear that you might have to sacrifice IQ points in order to get it. You'd have to be like Blaine the Train, trying to work out the silly, like, why did the baby cross the road riddles. You'd have to grind the gears of your immense, immeasurable, cold, hard, logical intellect and just dump it in a ditch. And just drag it through some mud. And then the silly riddles will make sense. But at what terrible cost? That's a permanent bit of damage to your intelligence there. Do not worry. But yeah, so we've got all of this basically is our food. The fact that I've got things like hatches and stuff like that, honestly, it's just that I don't know really at this point. They kind of throw over. We don't need them for meat. I do like having Dracos though. I do like, because I don't have like farms. We used to, but we don't have any reed farms. We don't have any pinch pepper farms. The only reason we got farm tiles in here at all, and that's mealwood, is purely so the Dracos can eat them and occasionally become glossy Dracos. And then I also got spare plastic. Like, the stuff you can do with animals in this game, I love it. And that's even more so in Space Out. But that's basically where we're at. Right now, what we're gearing up for, and what is, all of this, well, a lot of this has been built towards, is creating the infrastructure. Like, we had a telescope. I think I do actually need to rebuild that. So I'm going to have to take away the solar panel and do that again. Is to get to space. That's pretty much the thing I have never done. I've never been in space in this game. And I would very, very much like to get there. That's the one, that's the last frontier, basically. In terms of our overall storages, as you can see, I've got stupendous amounts of waste gas over here, and at this point, most of it is oxygen. Some of it's polluted oxygen. Down here, do we actually have any? Yes, we do. We have stupendous amounts of natural gas. This is all natural gas. And I've seen this almost full. So, power-wise, we're good. We're more than good, I would say. This, I think... Yep, we've got a bit of hydrogen in there as well, which is useful. What about over here? We've got hydrogen. Yeah, we've got a backup of hydrogen. The hydrogen, the spare hydrogen, that is. I do actually... I store it into tanks so that we've got backup power should something go wrong. But generally speaking, it's fine. And then the spare hydrogen gets shipped over into hydrogen generators and burnt off more or less straight away. We don't tend to accrue hydrogen over here. That's not a fuel that I'm kind of prioritizing using for the colony. Even over here, we've got these storage bins are full of coal, and they're automated. The coal generators are refueled automatically. I've got storage for massive amounts of petroleum. We've got 10 tons of petroleum just sat there for the petroleum generators. And yeah, the focus of this colony was huge amounts of automation wherever possible. Is polluted oxygen with farts? No, polluted oxygen is... It's oxygen with pollutants in it. Natural gas is what duplicants make when they fart. It's natural gas, which is why I think we've got natural gas in the main base. The CO2 gets scrubbed, but I don't do anything with the natural gas, so I do need to do something with that, because eventually it just builds up. However, polluted oxygen is any number of things, like germy, filthy oxygen with just other gases in there, I guess. I mean, it's very germy oxygen because you get it if urine off gases. You'll get polluted oxygen. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Aavak. He and his ferrets will boldly go where no dragon has gone before. Etc., etc. It wasn't a well of farce. It was a well of exhalation. Thank you very much. That's why we got carbon scrubbers in there. But yes, it eventually the carbon got scrubbed out, and now there's just fart gas in there. Sadly, it is what it is. But okay, so now here's the thing. Previously, I've got 2 areas that sterilize food, or did. Let's have a look at, say, the cooked fish here. It's unrefrigerated, it's in a sterile atmosphere. It is decomposing, though. Microbe-destroying conditions have decreased the food's decay rate. Now, get them while they're hot. This food becomes stale at 50% freshness and rots at 0%. Change per cycle, minus 18% freshness. Per cycle, basically day. Because, now none of that is coming from the atmosphere. The atmosphere is sterile. But the temperature is causing it to decay. We are going to lose millions of calories of food very fast. Over here, much the same. This is the meat. We've got 5,488 calories of meat just sat there from the shovels, for example. Unrefrigerated once again. Now this is, again, is in a sterile atmosphere. So it's not losing anything from the sterile atmosphere. Also, this area is a little bit, apparently the temperature here is a little bit colder. I'm not actually sure about that. Why that is. Where's the meat? Oh, I'm not clicking on the meat, that's why. The meat's temperature is... doesn't actually say. But it's only -9 here. Maybe meat doesn't rot as quickly. Just in its raw state. So yeah. We no longer have infinites. Sadly. That is now a thing that's gone. Aavak, can you teach me how you burn that many calories in a few days? You let it all rot. Because previously, if it was bathed in carbon dioxide, it couldn't rot at all. So we didn't use fridges. We just dumped it into a bath of CO2 or a bath of chlorine, which used to be enough. That used to sterilize it to the point that it couldn't decay in freshness. However, now it does. So we need to come up with a solution. Now, obviously, solution number 1, you build a fridge. A fridge in a sterile environment will drop its temperature to about 2 degrees, which will slow it to about -3% per day. However, if you freeze it, it's 0% per day. Vacuum doesn't help. Vacuum does not help. It will still decay in a vacuum. Well, actually... Well, would it? Would it decay in a vacuum? Because its temperature would be whatever its temperature was. Because it wouldn't be able to lose temperature in a vacuum. It wouldn't be able to shed heat. But it... So it would be whatever temperature it was when it dropped into the vacuum. Blarystone. Vacuums in this are not... it doesn't model heat transfer to that scale, sadly. The vacuum out here is like... It's like a special state where there's no gas and no heat movement. But that doesn't mean it's cold. It doesn't do that, sadly. What is it? I forget the correct terms. Like oxygen are included. It models convection, but not radiation. Is that correct? I do apologize that the English terms for certain scientific phenomena are still really sketch in my head. One of the pitfalls of learning everything in a different language. Yeah, vacuum in Oni is just space with no gas. Right, okay, thank you very much. So yeah, Oni models heat convection, but it doesn't model heat radiance. So if you like, this rock here is 312 degrees. It will always be 312 degrees because there is nothing in here taking that heat away. The heat is just not moving. So there's no black body radiation. We can't, like, you know, have a radiator of just iron or something and pipe super hot liquids into that iron so that it starts to heat up to the point that it begins to glow and shed heat through radiation in that way. So I need some sort of patch to my OS that changes calorie burn logic. Damn it. Alas. You're actually losing weight. Doing it the right way with diet and exercise. Down over 130 kilograms from my peak. You are down 130 kilograms. Well played, dear God. In 6 years, you have shed more than a whole me. That is extremely, extremely good work. And well done for doing it, you know, and taking your time and making sure you're doing it the right way, because that's how you keep it off. Well done, mate. Congrats. I'm at the point where I've stopped losing weight and I'm just replacing the fat with muscle. I've been in the same 5 kilo range for the last year now. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Eventually you get to a point where your body's like, nah, I don't want to lose any more weight. But you can absolutely convert that weight into muscle. Yeah. Well done, buddy. Very well done. But yeah, so that's the recap of where everything's at in the colony. Would you like to be introduced to our duplicants? I'm sure you would like to. We've got Filthy Fee over here, who's extremely, extremely well skilled. Can carry many things. Is a very good builder and a very good digger. James KM, very good cook, exceptional scientist, very good carrier, very good machine operator, very good at tidying. Most people have got the same kind of core skills. We've got a very good digger and builder who's got a little bit of research. Everyone where I can give them a little bit of science gets it because it makes them learn things faster. Good carrier. And it's got the exosuit wearing. Wherever I can get people exosuit wearing is important. Good at tidying. And, Talk over here. Digger, builder, carrier, tidier. Peachy keen mama. Good farmer, rancher, cook, carrier. Most people have carrying and tidying. Some have machine operation, though, as well, so they can become mechatronics engineers. We've got a couple of mechatronics engineers. Another digger builder. Robert Owen is primarily a farmer, I believe. Yes, you're more of a farmer than anything else. Let's see, make sure you've got the best hat. Yes, you do. That is improved farming too. Yep. Shally, another scientist. You can usually tell their role based on the hat that I've given them, despite their multi-disciplined nature of their skills. Snowfoot, whereas many of the digger builders are diggers first, Snowfoot is a builder first. Is also capable of mechatronics. Filthy Fee is more of a mechatronics operator first. The Force, more of a rancher than a farmer, but, you know, the skills are very similar. The Longhoff are one and only medic. Very good at their job. And Weregoat are one and only artist. Also very good at their job. There are a couple of places that I have effectively created vacuums, though. I don't know if I've got any left right now, because usually I'll vacuum out an area completely in order to set something up. If I need no heat transference when I'm doing something in there that's going to be dealing with things that are at extreme temperatures. For example, I will usually completely empty out all of the gases in in an electrolyzer chamber before I fire it up. You can absolutely vacuum out an area completely to make an entirely sealed environment, but then usually I've got something else that I'm going to fill it up with. For example, I completely vacuum these out before I add water and then heat the water up to fill it with steam. So there's no other gases because that would interfere with the operation of my steam turbines. But with all of that done, I think... Oh my lord, the interaction with the gases on the screen is just freaky. We still haven't set this up, and one day we will. We will. But right now, I think we're actually low on resources. Now, this is another... These two things are very, very nice additions, quality of life enhancers. You can set up diagnosis to check on important things. For example... right now, I've got all of these things up on the screen at all times, but you can change them. So, for example, battery will check two criteria. Right now, I've got it visible only on alert. It'll check the capacity and it'll check dead batteries. So right now, one or more batteries have died, so some of my batteries are empty. I need to find out where they are and sort that out, and that's why that's on my list. Beds, it'll just check that I've got enough beds, otherwise it won't show up. I've got 14 out of the 12 that I need. Breathability, I've currently got to always be visible, but honestly, I'm okay with only having that show up if I need it. Crops is also on an alert. That would check colony has farms, and you can turn off the individual checks within them if you want, which is actually quite cool. Entombed, errands, food. What are the criteria here? Check enough food. Honestly, I want that on an alert. Idleness... Sure, I want to see if I've got idle dupes. Max stress. Only let me know if there's a problem. Power use. Check circuit overloaded. Yep, likewise. Again, I don't really care too much about that. Toilets. I only want to know if there's a problem, basically. Work time. I guess I could have that always visible, but I don't know if really there's much reason to. Check trapped. That will pop up. That's amazing. If someone is trapped, it'll tell you they're trapped long before they start to suffocate. That would have been so useful, Belial, wouldn't it? Imagine we had that long ago, Belial. A little warning that said, hey, this dude can't get out. He's still got air, but he won't forever. He's currently stuck somewhere. He can't leave. It's going to make him sad. Or dead. Check the temp of the Dracos. You don't remember if I fixed their cooling loop. The temp in here is 25C, which, I mean, I can see that the mealwood is fine. So their cooling loop is probably fixed. Yeah. We've got 22 degree water coming in and 23 degree water going out. So yes, this area has been cooled. Or our Lord Aavak could not tell a derp to mine in a deadly area. Oh, come on. Telling a derp not to mine in a deadly area? You're basically asking me not to play oxygen not included. Come on now. We've got crops waiting. These are never meant to be harvested. I don't want them harvested, ever. These are for the Dracos and the Dracos only. But Brithnoth, I'm imagining if the food retains its temperature, then no, we can't. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't think that putting it in a vacuum is going to help it. Again, because the game doesn't model heat radiance, it's not going to get cold in a vacuum. So it'll go in there at whatever temperature the creature's body was when it died, which is 29.2 degrees for my shovels. And that will probably cause it to decay. I can only assume. I don't know on that one. Have we got any meat on the move? We've got an egg here. Can I grab it? There we are. The eggshell there is at 32.6 degrees. It is moving When it gets down here, it'll be moving through vacuum. It was already moving in vacuum because this place actually has... Oh, no, it's got a tiny little bit of breathable gas because it's cooling down the machines in it. But here it's in vacuum now. Okay? That eggshell is at 73 degrees now. Because it picked up probably heat from the... Yeah, it picked up a lot of heat moving through here. Oh, the eggshell passed over the items being brought in from outside, and they're like at several hundred degrees. But that... 73, it shed a little bit of heat into the door, but right now it's at 73.7. Let's see what it's like when it gets here. And 73.7. It is not losing heat. So any meat that's at that kind of temperature will be at that temperature when you drop it in a vacuum, and the heat is going to decay it. I don't know 100%, but we can always check it out. Oh, Brithnoth. Brithnoth. My dude. I'll have to check, because that's some serious suspension of disbelief. My dude. Oxygen Not Included is quite possibly one of the best and most heavily simulated games of this genre. Keyword on game. But it does not have a perfect simulation. That whole thing of, well, if food rots in a vacuum, I'm going to have to suspend my disbelief. What part about self-powering electrolyzers didn't cause you to suspend that disbelief already? Literally, these things produce more power than it takes to run them. We have broken some pretty fundamental laws with that statement alone. I add water into the system. It uses electricity to break it down into hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen gets pumped off somewhere else. The hydrogen gets pumped into a hydrogen generator with extra. It produces more than it's needed, but that hydrogen generator produces enough energy to run the system and keep it going. It's already broken physics. Oni is just a better simulation, but it's not a perfect one. It never will be. I'm calling the physics police on me. Oh no. Oh no. Don't worry. I've got Schroeder on speed dial. I'm fine. Physics police will show up and I'll just answer with quantum physicists. They're all, you've broken the first law. It's like, ha 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 ha. Well, have you ever let me show you an electron when it's when you can't see it? But now you can see it. Where is it? Oh no, it's acting like a wave. No, it's acting like a particle. No, it's acting like a wave. Their heads would pop. I'm fine. But then my star rating would go up and they'd send heavily armed physics police. It would be an ending cycle. Don't worry, I'll climb in the box with the cat. They'll never find me. Never mind. So yeah, again, don't look at this game like it's a perfect simulation. It's not. It's a fun simulation, though. It's totally a fun one. It simulates enough stuff that you can be clever and you can, like, thermodynamics. It's a heavily simulated game. That's the point. But it is not a perfectly simulated game. So you do need to leave your disbelief. You do need to be ready to suspend disbelief a bit to play it. But as far as simulation games go, as I said, it's probably one of the best simulation games out there. Like, definitely one of the best. So until they can afford to do, like, you know, radiant simulations and stuff like that, which may absolutely come along one day. Like, even on a very, very good computer, you get far enough in this game and it chugs like hell because it's simulating so many gases interacting, so much fluid physics. Like, over here, like, we've actually got a puddle that is clean water, polluted water. They're not mixing. They should, but they're not. And little things like that. You know, they have to take some shortcuts to make the game run. But hopefully one day we will get to a point where more of the simulation can be more realistically simulated and afford even more interesting interactions between things. But very, very much what we've got right now is super fun, in my opinion. Super fun. Jake tells you, crap, he's in the box. Well, I guess he's dead now. No point even measuring it. Indeed. Yeah, pretty much, Brithnoff. From what I understand, to completely remove rot, 100%, you need a sterile atmosphere. By the way, a vacuum would count as a sterile atmosphere. Or rather, I guess what you need is a not sterile atmosphere. So no atmosphere ticks that check box. And it needs to be at a very low temperature. So hopefully, if we can create some sort of frozen locker room and dump all of our food ingredients in there and only take ingredients out when we want to cook something to add into a fridge that we keep in the base, because obviously we can't make a frozen locker in the base. Maybe we can. I'll have a think about it, but people are going to be moving back and forth into that locker in order to get food. So chilling that room is going to constantly be bleeding heat back and forth between the base and the room all the time. Right now, what we did was we made a little CO2 sump in here. So most of the base is oxygen, but in here it's just CO2, so that was helping with keeping things sterile. But now we need to keep it cold as well, and I can't just cool this down. I would have to make an actual boxed room. And then every time they walk in, some of the super cool atmosphere will move back and forth, which is not ideal. It isn't ideal. But, you know, it is something we could look at doing. The other idea, as I said, is like you just accept that there's a little bit of decay on a fridge that you've got in the room, like in the base at base temperatures, but in a sterile environment, because the fridge is going to drop the decay quite aggressively down to like 2% per day. So, you know, you're going to have a long time before that food rots or even isn't fresh anymore. But the ingredients and perhaps even the cooking room, that's in a super chilled area. Like, actually, that's not a bad idea. That's a really good idea. Okay, so let me... I think you've just given me an idea, chat, and it's a good one too. A fridge. It will store things at 2 degrees. So it will radically slow down decay. But it's also got an output. When the fridge is full, it'll send a signal. When it's not full, it won't send a signal. So in effect, if you use a NOT gate, it'll send a signal if it's not full. We can have that signal run over to the cook stove to allow the cook stove to turn on or off. So the cook stove is only on if the fridge isn't full. Once the fridge is full, the cook stove turns off. But the cook stove is in a separate sealed-in room. It's temperature controlled. It's pretty cold in there, so when someone goes in there to cook, well, that kind of sucks, but, you know. Or we can literally just vacuum out all gases from that room. The only issue with that is the kitchen itself produces heat. So this is the downside. I think we would need it to be an atmosphere-controlled room. But we could fill it with chlorine. Chlorine isn't just a sterile gas. It isn't like CO2. Things just can't survive in it. Chlorine actively kills bacteria. CO2 just inhibits their ability to breathe, so they eventually die off. But chlorine, like in CO2, it's like, okay, the germs in this environment, the slime lung germs, for example, let's see that. So, slime lung, dying on gas, 3% dead per cycle. Because they're not able to breed. Let's find some chlorine. There's some slime lung germs here. Dying on chlorine, 100% dead per cycle. The chlorine is actively killing the bacteria. Hey, Omega Jinx, thank you very much for the 34 months. So, what we could do is we could make a cooking room that's... The atmosphere in there is chlorine. Chlorine, what is your... Okay, liquid at minus 34. That's fine. We could just drop the temperature to minus 5. Or even minus 10. Because that would allow this to produce heat. And in fact, the auto sweeper and stuff, all of the machines in there could produce heat. That's fine. The chlorine would soak up that heat, and whatever active cooling measure we've got will just keep it cold and spirit that heat away somewhere. The duplicants would be able to come in here via a transit tube, pop in, do the work, get in the transit tube, pop back out. And otherwise, the environment would be completely sterile, and all of the ingredients would be completely frozen. And then when we cook it, because the fridge has some room, and the fridge has a very small storage capacity, so you wouldn't ever risk like, even if through some calamity everything in the fridge rotted, you wouldn't have lost that much ingredients. So I think that would work. I think that would work. Yeah, all of my duplicants have suits. They don't leave their life support pod without suits. They have to wear a suit to get out. I do have emergencies in the cases that power runs down, but even then, generally don't need it.